Okay, guys, anybody there? I'll just give you guys a sec. Anybody there? I'll just give you guys a sec and see whether you guys can hear me okay. Hey, Axel, can you hear me? Can you just give me a quick chat message there so I can see whether you can hear me okay? So yeah, I'm not sure what you guys are seeing exactly because this is something I don't do that often, but I'm doing this specifically as a request from you guys. So yeah, just let me know if the screen is reasonable, and yeah, if you can hear me okay. So I see that Will is online. You can hear me typing. So I suppose there's a delay in the video. So yeah, I'll give you guys a sec. So Polygon just joined. I see Will. I see Axel. And if any of you can just leave me a little chat message, just so I know for sure that you can hear me okay, right? Okay, looks like we're getting some momentum here. So yeah, the reason that I'm doing this live stream is kind of to do a celebration, considering that I hit 40,000 subscribers, and I'm really psyched about that. It's a lot of fun because I put a tremendous amount of time in doing these videos, and it's always nice when they're appreciated, right? So, okay, it looks like you guys can hear me fine. Does any of you have any questions that you want to ask me? So, and while you guys think about that, and probably there's going to be some delay here, hopefully you guys like this little thing that I just put up as a prize in the video. And have you seen it yet? Give me some comments on that, guys. Let's just see if I can improve this image a little bit here. Okay, there you go. So is that image better? Okay, guys, so here we go with questions. So I get a question from ASDFS99. Hey, Mike, what was your first experience with 3D graphics? Well, that depends on what you consider 3D graphics. Drawing in 3D, I would say, I don't know, 40 years ago, or maybe even longer than that. If we're talking about 3D graphics, the first time that I ever did anything in 3D graphic style would be in 1983. Okay, so probably in a year where a lot of you guys weren't even born yet. So hopefully that answers the question. So let's see what else. Okay, so Axel telling me that the image is okay, the sound seems to be okay. That's good. Let me see. I've been looking for how to subscribe for it for a long time. Okay, so Axel, I assume you're talking about the 3D Artist magazine. I guess so. It's a really awesome magazine, and I was talking about it with some people in my Facebook group, and yeah, some of them had it, some didn't, and that gave me the idea to put that up as a prize. So okay, so let's see. So Will is saying advice for getting exposure. Okay, so before I get into that, Axel, trying to subscribe. The website is 3dartistonline.com. That's where you can subscribe. It's from the UK, but I don't live in the UK either. I live in Holland, but they just ship it over. So I've been doing that for a number of years, and that works perfectly. Okay. So I got a question: how to get exposure from Will. Well, to get exposure for your work, it's obviously good that you have work that's decent, and make sure that you only post the very best work you have. But also, it's really important to have a good business understanding. So I am not the best artist around. I'm well aware of that. But my angle is that I have a very strong business background. I've been a business consultant for a long time, advising corporations and so forth. And what we're seeing is that a lot of companies are looking for 3D work, but also they're incorporating more and more 3D work into their business, into their websites, into their logos, and so forth. As 3D is really booming right now, it's big business. It's very important for a 3D artist to develop a business sense. So to understand better what companies are looking for, not necessarily from an art point of view, but also understand business logistics, understand finance, understand bottom line, revenue, profits, margins, and so forth. If you know that, you will know how to position yourself as an artist to be noticed quicker by these potential customers. Now that said, for those of you who have not done this already, if you have a profile in LinkedIn, good, go to the B2A group, which is actually my group. It's a business to artist collaboration platform. And if you do not have a LinkedIn profile, create that right away. LinkedIn is kind of the professional business Facebook equivalent, and that's a great way to get into contact with other artists, with studios, a lot of job postings, and so forth. Okay, So, Will, just let me know if that answered your question. I kind of hate the fact that there's such a long delay here, but hopefully it's working okay. Okay, so I'm getting a question from Bakir is calling me uncle. Interesting. Jonathan, where do you see the future of architecture going? What do you mean by that, Jonathan? In the real world, in the software architecture, what are you referring to? Can you please explain that a little bit? Okay, well, yeah, it makes perfect sense. Well, actually, what I want to tell you guys, and I don't know if you are aware of this, and I'm actually not supposed to say, but, just between the 17 people that are online right now, I've been asked to go to a international animation fair in Germany later on this year and to act as a speaker. And the topic that I will talk about is how to make it as a 3D artist in a business world. Okay, so that very much ties into what we were talking about just now. All right. Okay, so Jonathan, in the real world, not quite sure how that's related to 3D modeling and animation per se, but I do have an opinion about it. Because what I see is that people are going towards a situation where they want a minimal footprint on this planet. Okay, so houses are becoming smaller, they're becoming more economic, and they're becoming more mobile. As there's a trend where people are starting to work more mobile, there's also a trend where people want to live more mobile. Okay, so they are looking for I don't know, kind of movable cubes or inter-exchangeable cubes where you can kind of stay a night in and so forth. But also, like you have mobile offices now, people will have more mobile spaces to live. And they want to do that in a very natural way without claiming too many resources and so forth. Okay, so hopefully that answers that question a little bit. Okay, what kind of work do I prefer after the architecture? Okay, I assume that the question is what kind of work do I prefer after dealing with the architecture question? Well, I personally like to do 3D props, um, mainly because character modeling and animation is kind of where everybody is at. And although that is very cool, I personally have a mechanical engineering background. So I started off with technical things, and I always enjoyed building machines or buildings or scenes. So I really like environments, I like props. As far as rigging and animation, some props are rigged, but not so much compared to characters. So that's kind of what I enjoy. Okay, let's see, what else? So Will is saying favorite artist and why. What type of artist are you talking about, Will? You talking about 3D? And while I'm waiting for Will's answer, the reason that I'm asking that is I have a background of traditional art way before I went into 3D art. So I kind of have a foot in that world as well. And I enjoy a lot of forms of art. So, okay, so Will is saying any artist, 2D and 3D and animation. Well, in order for me to answer that question, I really need to explain my vision on art. For me, 3D modeling and animation is nothing more than a tool, like a paintbrush or a pencil or a pen or a crayon, right? Um, the key to art, in my opinion, is how to tell a story. If you are a great modeler and your model doesn't tell a story, then it doesn't appeal to people as much. It doesn't trigger their emotion, and therefore you can become good but never truly great. Okay, so the art of touching people emotionally with music or any type of art is key. Now, especially when we're talking about 3D modeling, what you see is that a lot of people think it's a gimmick, right? They think 3D modeling is not really art, but I disagree completely. Because if you do it right, you will be able to reach a tremendous amount of people, and you will be able to, create an emotion. So my favorite artist in general is John Lasseter, the boss at Pixar, because he understands very, very well how to tell a story. And he had the guts way back in the day when he worked at Disney to go against what was considered normal back then. He decided to animate using a computer, and by doing so, he pissed off a lot of people and actually got fired at Disney. But that gave him the opportunity to work with George Lucas at LucasArts, and from there he started Pixar. So if I had to answer that question, John Lasseter for sure. Okay. Let's see. Larry is asking me, is it the FMX that I'm talking about as far as the fair? No, it's a fair called the Animago in Germany. I don't know if you guys know it, but if so, let me know. Ted says, nice 4K. Yes, I agree. Thank you very much. And Eric is asking me, have you done any Marvelous Designer? Well, that's an interesting question because I'm actually in the process of getting it. The reason why is that although you can make some things, using N-Class and so forth, Marvelous Designer goes way beyond that. But the problem for me, in all honesty, is that making videos on YouTube requires me to cover a tremendous amount of different software platforms. I think I did 25 so far, and as you all know, that stuff is freaking expensive. Now, if you guys think that I'm a YouTube millionaire, you are very, very wrong, but that's not the point. The thing is, Marvelous Designer costs something like 550 bucks, so I just have to save up a little bit before I can get it. And once I do, I will start doing tutorials on it. Okay, so hopefully that answers the question. So let's see, if I mix the engineer and the architect together, so it will make art tremendously better. Okay, well, interesting, because like I said, I have a mechanical engineering background originally. I love architecture, and I think that more and more technology is coming into homes, not necessarily mechanical engineering, but technology in general. In the past, it was really focused on the gimmick factor or the geek factor, but more and more the technology is incorporated to make lives more efficient and with less impact on the environment. Okay. So let's see, what kind of job do I do? Let's see, what kind of job you done yet for others, and if any big companies hired me? Okay, well, I did a lot of things. Besides obviously doing YouTube videos, I have done 3D models for toy manufacturing companies. I worked on a children's series for the BBC television. I sold models independently. I created 3D logos. I don't necessarily work fixed for studios, but that's more because I don't want to. I mean, having a full-time job as a 3D artist is a kind of shitty thing anyway, because you kind of work from paycheck to paycheck. But I got into this game in a different way. My main gig has always been business and consulting and that kind of thing. And I still actually have a consultancy company as well. My main goal right now is to bring these two things together. So my business consultancy is more and more focused on 3D, and that's working both ways. So I really enjoy that. Okay. Let's see. Will has asked me, what is my biggest achievement I accomplished through 3D art? Well, that's a really easy question to answer. My absolute biggest achievement is helping young people to understand their trade better without having them to pay for expensive colleges and so forth. That's why I started doing this in the first place. I mean, college is expensive, and even after completing college, it's still very difficult to get into the business. I have been an educator most of my life, and I really love teaching people things. Um, I would even say that the teaching element is maybe even more important than the complexity of the object or topic. If you know my videos, you know that I keep them extremely simple for the main reason that I want everybody to understand, whether they are English or not, whether they are experienced or not. Okay, and people that have a lot of experience don't need my videos anyway, right? So hopefully that answers that question. Okay, Jim, I have a friend that has made a computer for a guy that makes big money making 3D models of oil wells, platforms, and so forth. Well, Jim, that doesn't surprise me at all. Like I said before, in my Facebook Hangout group, there are 800 plus artists right now, and everybody has their own angle. Okay, for example, one of the members we have is a scientist, has a PhD in something that I can't pronounce, and specializes in 3D modeling and animation for scientific purposes. Another does that specifically for medical purposes. Okay, so if they have to visualize organs or whatever, they will do that. So that brings me to the next topic, and I get this a lot. What is the best path to walk if you want to become successful in 3D art? The way I approach it is as a T model artist. Before I get into that, can anybody online right now tell me if they ever heard of that phrase, T model artist? Okay, while you guys think about that, I'll just read through the questions quickly here. So Will is asking me, have I done anything in ZBrush? I have, and I did very poorly. I'm really bad at it. Um, I work with Mudbox now and then when I need to sculpt. I was actually doing some lessons, but that will take a while. Okay, so okay, I'll get back to that T model thing in a bit, but looks like nobody has heard of that. Okay, good. So remind me, I'll get back to that. So Eric is saying, I kindly regret doing a course in VFX because everything can be found online, like your channel, Mike, you're my digital tutor. Well, I really appreciate that. Um, a lot can be found online, and I'm certainly not going to say that I'm better than everybody else. Certainly not. But one of the reasons why I started doing this is that I found that tutorials online are usually overcomplicated. They use a lot of terminology that is not necessarily at all. Um, I would typically not use the technical term for things in software, but I would say, you know, click that button on the left or on the right or whatever, because one of the comments I hear most is that people start looking at a video and then they just quit because they just can't follow. It's, you know, they kind of talk down to people, they make it overcomplicated on purpose and so forth. I want videos to be understandable for everyone, so that's why I do that. Okay, so let's get to the T model. So a T model artist is an artist that is a generalist. So they horizontally can do a lot of things. They can do some modeling, some animation, some rigging, and so forth. But vertically, they have one specialization. Okay. So for example, I can do a little bit of everything. My specialization is props. Okay. So for example, you have T-model artists. They're specialized in lighting, but they can also do modeling and rigging and so forth. So if you work for a large studio where they have the budget to hire a lighting specialist, that's great, but that's limited. If you work for a smaller studio, they're not going to have that budget, and you will have to do a lot of other things as well. Okay. So the way I approach it is try to learn a little bit about everything, and as you do that, you will find out what you really love to do, and that will automatically become your specialization. Okay? So let me know if that makes sense to you guys, and if you have any questions about that. Okay, so I get a question from I hope I'm going to pronounce that right. The Felborn. Do you think that Blender will be the industry standard at some point? To be honest, I do not. Why not? Although it's first of all, it's a Dutch product, which is kind of cool. The reason that I think that that will not be the case is because Blender is free; it's open source. So they have less funding for product development. It's very, very tricky. Although I really love open source, commercial companies will have a bigger drive, more financial means, more incentive to stay up to date and follow all the developments there because their livelihood depends on it. And as a result, a lot of related industries like hardware and so forth, they will probably be more likely to follow companies like Autodesk than they would follow Blender. So yeah, let me know if you think that makes sense. Okay. Okay, so Dakota is saying this is pretty much what I'm trying to do. I assume that's related to that T model thing. It's kind of an automatic process. I get emails where people say, teach me how to make an animated movie. Well, if you are into 3D art, you know that that is a question that doesn't make sense at all because it's built out of 100 different elements, and you just have to start with number 1, 2, 3, 4. There'll be some areas where you have difficulties, some areas where you're not going to touch it ever, and there are going to be some areas where you feel very comfortable. All right. Let's see. What level of simulation need to have to start making money? I don't know what you mean by simulation, but how long does it take to make money with 3D art? To be quite honest, I made money with 3D art in the first week that I was doing it. I made a 3D logo and I sell it to my neighbor for 10 bucks, right? Are you talking about how can you make a full-time income? That's a totally different story. So I'm seeing a post from Louise. I don't know if you were online just now, Louise. I was talking about a scientist with her PhD, and that's you. So welcome. I know Louise very well. She's from my Facebook group, and she's asking me, what are all the things? How does the industry split up the production line? Okay, that's a good one. You can compare this to working in a kitchen. And I'll try to explain this like I explain things in my tutorials. If you are making a dish at home, then you do everything yourself. So you do the groceries, you prep the food, you cook the food, you put it on a plate, and you serve the food, right? Now, if you are working for a 5-star restaurant, you will have a chef, a sous chef. You will have, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 people working in the kitchen, and everybody has a very specific role. So the different roles in a pipeline depend very much on what the project is. Is it a mobile game? Is it a console game? Is it an animated movie? Is it a TV show where you need to add special effects and so forth. But in general, very generically speaking, what you have is a story development or a script. So somebody writes a story and they want to tell that story in one way or the other, either by having somebody play a game on a console or looking at a movie or whatnot. Now, if you want to turn this into, let's say, a movie, you need a lot of money to do that. So that's the business element that I was talking about. You need to sell that story. So you need to tell that story to someone, and that person has to give you a lot of money so you can go out and do it. So you will have to create storyboards, and the storyboards are quick sketches where you show the potential investors, okay, this is what it's going to look like roughly, okay, and then they'll say, yeah, but I don't really feel it right, okay. So you will go out and create mood boards, and mood boards are kind of color patches and textures and so forth to get an idea and a look and feel. And then you start working on, for example, characters and rough versions of that. And you have all these different stages where you decide to go and do the next step, right? So if you're working with an art director or you're working for a lead animator or a lead character modeler, they'll tell you, okay, this is good, go to the next step. This is good, go to the next step. So depending on what you're talking about, this can be anything from a one-man or one-woman show to a group of people that are in the hundreds working for years. Okay, so it's kind of a hard question to answer, Louise, but hopefully it made sense. So let's see what else. Would you say the ability to draw and make concept art is necessary if you want to become a good 3D generalist? And that's a question by Pavel. Yes and no. I talked earlier about the ability to tell stories. Okay. Now, if you are a 3D artist and you are a very mechanical 3D artist in the sense that you are technically skilled, you can probably create anything that they put in front of you. They give you a picture and you'll model it. It's a different story when they give you a blank piece of paper and they ask you to come up with something, because that involves imagination and storytelling. When you're drawing, you're typically drawing on a blank piece of paper, and in that case it really helps because it gives you a good sense of space visualization, it gives you a sense of storytelling. It's very a free way of working because your pencil will take you anywhere you need to go, okay? And it has less restrictions than, for example, working in Maya. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how I see it. Okay, so why don't I work for a studio? I don't work for a studio because if you work in a studio, you typically work with a boss, okay? I am probably, compared to most of you, a pretty old guy. I've been working for 34 years. And I had my fair share of bosses, right? I decided at some point I want to be my own boss. I want to do what I want to do. And that's choosing the hard road, if you like, but that's the way I did it. And as soon as you start working for a studio, it becomes more complicated because you have deadlines and you have to do compromising and so forth. It's just a personal choice, probably because I'm in a later stage in my career. If I were maybe 20 or so, I would probably try to get a job at a studio because that's more job security, okay? So let's see what else. Does having a degree in engineering help on getting a job with 3D studios and design firms? Not really. I get this question a lot. Is a college degree, or any degree for that matter, important to improve your chances on getting a job in the 3D industry? Well, to put it bluntly, if your work is good, they don't give a crap, right? Whether you learned at your kitchen table or you went to CalArts, right? I mean, it's helpful, it will open doors, but ultimately it's about your work. And I've seen work from people that have never been to college ever, and it's amazing. And I have seen a lot of work from people who have been to college, and it's really poor. So I think college helps you develop what should be already there. And if it's not there, it's not there. That's just the way it is. Okay. Let's see. Lazaro is asking me, do you know of any plugins for snapping, like Max or AutoCAD? I don't really know what you mean by that. If you mean snapping to grid, that's available in Maya. Besides that, I don't really know. Let's see. How much time does it take to learn a bit of 3D software? Um, that depends. For example, I worked in a program called B2M. It's a product from the same company as Substance Painter and Substance Designer. Learning that software took me about 10 minutes. Okay, learning Autodesk Maya takes years. And what is learning? I mean, starting to work with it. I mean, you can work. If I explain to someone how to work in Maya and I talk to them for an hour, they can work in Maya. Um, can they make anything they want in Maya? Probably not. Okay, so that brings me to the next question: should you learn 20 different types of software, or should you focus on one or two? It depends on what you want. The reason why I use so many different software types is because of my YouTube channel. A lot of people out there, they all have different questions. They all use different types of software. So that's why I try to focus on that. If I didn't have a YouTube channel, I would probably work with Maya, with Substance Painter and Keyshot, and maybe ZBrush. That would be about it. Okay. Okay, so let's see, what else? Proportions are always a problem when modeling. Well, Ted, thank you for putting that up there. That is indeed very, very, very important. 9 out of 10 times when you see work done by someone, the reason why it's off is because the proportions are not right. There are websites online where you can find a lot of proportions. So how high is a trash can? How high is a phone booth? How tall is a car? How long is a car? And so forth. If you have objects in an environment and they're off scale, then your whole work is totally off. Okay, so that's why it's very important. So let's see, what else? Okay, so how to get expensive software when you're at school and don't earn money. Well, most software companies have trial versions or student versions, and that will allow you to work for longer periods of time with that software completely free. So that's always good. Let's see. Will is saying, who do you think the most underappreciated people are in the film industry? I recently learned about Foley and realized forgotten or unheard of it. Um, well, to be honest, that's because of the nature of my job. That's something that I'm really not into, so that's kind of hard for me to answer. Okay, so let's see what else. Sometimes I get a scan made, and the result is so far from what I modeled. Do you know a way to get more accurate results without scanning? Um, I'm not sure what you mean by scanning. Can you elaborate on that, Ted? What do you mean by that? Um, you get a scan made and the result is far off. A scan of what? A 3D scan? Not sure what you mean there. Okay. Any other questions, guys? I'll just scroll back up and see if I didn't miss anything here. Okay, so a very intelligent question by Joshua. Do you have a penis? Yes, I do. So Pavla is asking me, would extremely good technical proficiency be able to compensate for lack of drawing skill? Um, Potentially. Uh, it's related to the type of work you're doing. I mean, for example, if you're an environment artist and you're asked to create a city landscape and you have a technical background, it will help you a lot. But the problem there is, and I know that from experience, if you have a technical engineering background, it will look really static. Okay, it will look fake because it's too straight. Typically, the roof of a house is not straight. It's kind of curved, it's kind of sagged, and so forth. And to get a good understanding of how that works, what you need to do is you need to learn how to look at things. Uh, for example, a football is not round, right? If you have a close look at a football, you'll see that it's not round at all, and it has all different textures and lighting and shapes and so forth. So what I do is I take objects like a mug or a pen or just any other object, and as I draw it and spend half an hour or an hour drawing it, you are looking very closely at that object for an hour. If you then have to reproduce that object in Maya without any reference, you probably can because you've got a good understanding of the proportions and how it looks. Okay, so that's how I do that. Okay, so yeah, I'm not going to get into Joshua. He's talking nonsense there. Okay, so let's see. Any steps on making my own 3D studio or firm? No, I'm not. I'm not going to do that because I already have a business. I'm a consultant and I am consulting with between companies and artists. So that's the closest I'm probably going to get. Okay. Let's see. Simran is saying, do you have any advice for a student or at university looking to enter the role of 3D? Any skills that are not advertised, you think? Well, I recently posted an article in my Facebook group, and that is how to land a job without experience. Now, the problem is, without experience, you don't get hired. If you don't get hired, you're never going to get experience. So, what to do, right? Now, what you probably need to accept is when you get into the industry, especially at a young age, just accept the fact that you're getting in at bottom level. Okay, so you are the person making the coffee, you are the person cleaning, I don't know, emptying waste bags, whatever. But as you do that, you are surrounding yourself with people that have a lot of skill and knowledge, and if you are respectful, they will teach you and they will share that knowledge with you, and as a result you will grow as an artist, and at some point when you are skilled you will give back. Okay, so be really humble about it. Try to find a place where you know that you are going to be able to learn a lot, and just get into the building. Even if you're not a 3D artist and you're just somebody that's going to be making coffee all day long, do it. Even if it's unpaid, do it. Once you're through the door, that's the start. Okay. Okay. Do I do collaborative work? Yes, I do, and I have on several occasions. Sometimes because it's simply a topic near and dear to my heart. Sometimes because people just need individual environments or props for something that they're working on. So I'll do that. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Jim Newton. Good point. Okay, so I'm not going to respond to Joshua at all. Let's see. Okay, guys. Well, any other questions? And let's see. Yeah, just let me know. We'll do, let's say, another 5 minutes or so. How long have I worked with Maya and 3D in general, and what work did you do before this? Well, I started with computer graphics, as it was called back then, in 1983. So a long, long time ago. You really couldn't call it 3D compared to what we do now, obviously. Um, but besides that, I've been in the business. I mentioned that a few times during this session as well. I am a consultant, and I advise large companies, airlines, banks, and whatever, on how to develop their processes and so forth. Okay. Let's see. Let's see here. Just give me 1 sec, guys. Okay, so we just got rid of Joshua because he needs to grow up. And let's see. Hopefully, yeah, there we go. He should be gone now. Should be. Okay. So let's see. Will be nice to fully integrate Maya with Unreal. Do you see Unreal as a production tool for a film one day? I actually do not. I don't know if you guys have seen the technology used in creating the movie Avatar. That was truly amazing because they replaced the traditional film cameras by handheld tablets, and I'm trying to find out how to explain this. So as they were filming, what they did is they looked at the tablet, and they looked through the tablet to see the actors, so to speak. And they saw the actors in the CG environment on that tablet, while in front of them they saw the actor in front of a green screen. Okay, so I think that that is much more the technology that we're going to see, and there will no longer be a need for something like a game engine. That's my take on it anyway. Okay, so Jonathan is asking me, how did I become a consultant? Long story. I worked in procurement, logistics, finance, and production. Became a team leader, a manager, a senior manager, a European manager, a MEA manager, global manager, and finally, I thought it was time to share that knowledge and give something back. So that's why I started as an independent consultant. Okay. Okay. Let's see. What else? What else? What else? Okay, time for one more question, guys, and then we're going to call it a day. Otherwise, I'm going to be chatting here all day long. I really do appreciate you guys being online. I'm not too proficient in doing this whole streaming stuff, so hopefully it worked out okay. So let's see if we got one more question that I can talk about. Anyone? Yeah, I know there's a little delay, so I'll hold on for a sec. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'll do this as the last question by skate style. Do you think it's more important to do a job that you really like or a job that will make you money? Okay. Ideally speaking, especially in my experience at a younger age, what you want to do is, whatever makes you happy, right? The reality is, depending on your circumstances and where you live and so forth, that you have to pay the bills, whether you like it or not. You know, you have to live in a house, you have to eat food, you have to have clothing, and so forth. So I can go out and say that I want to be a poet and earn my money being a poet, but that's probably never going to happen. So you need to work to make money to facilitate your dream. Okay. Now, most people have a dream to spend their days doing what they want to do. And to be quite honest, for the most part, that is what I do now. However, it took me 34 years of working very, very hard and working for all sorts of bosses and managers and so forth, and a lot of compromising to get rid of a lot of wealth and income and so forth, because that's the price you pay when you make that choice. Now, if you're asking me, is it a good and smart idea to become a 3D animator from a financial perspective? Hell no, right? If you want to make money, there are a lot of ways to make more money, and there are a lot of ways to have more job security. Being a 3D artist is a very, very insecure profession. However, if it's your talent and it's what you love to do, then you will do it and it won't feel like work. Okay, so I kind of approach it the other way around. I've been working all my life doing something else, and primarily for financial to earn money, and now I'm doing this. If I stayed on the path where I was, I would probably have a lot more income, but I would probably hate it. Now I got a lot less income, but I love what I do. So that's it. Okay. Right, guys. Yeah, like I said, that's it. I can go on forever, but that's not feasible. So I'm going to do this more. Couple of things before we shut down. If you haven't already, become a member of my Facebook group, the MH Tutorials Hangout group, and the link to that is under most videos. If you are an artist and you create content online and you want to get in contact with companies, then I suggest you go to the LinkedIn group B2A, which stands for Business to Artists, and become a member there. And if you got any questions that you want to let me know, you can reach me by sending an email to mh-tutorials@hotmail.com. Okay? So that said, everyone, thank you very, very much for joining me in this session. I'm enjoying this more and more. And that said, thank you guys for watching, and see you guys next time. Bye.